Have you ever had an idea so crazy that everyone, even your own dad, told you it wouldn't work? What if that crazy idea turned into a multi-billion-dollar empire recognized all over the world? This is the story of Phil Knight, the man who took a simple, almost laughable idea and built Nike from the ground up. It's a story not just about shoes, but about grit, risk, and refusing to listen to the word no. Our story begins in the late 1950s in Oregon. Phil Knight was a decent middle-distance runner at the University of Oregon, but he wasn't a star. His real passion was ignited by his coach, the legendary Bill Bowerman. Bowerman was obsessed with making his runners faster, and he believed the key was in their shoes. He was constantly tinkering, tearing apart running shoes and rebuilding them with lighter materials, better cushioning, and different spike configurations. Knight was one of his guinea pigs, testing out these strange, often cobbled-together prototypes. This experience planted a seed in Knight's mind. What if there was a better, more affordable running shoe available to everyone? After graduating, Knight went to Stanford for his MBA. In a small business class, he had to write a paper. While others wrote about electronics or real estate, Knight couldn't shake his obsession with shoes. He wrote a paper titled, "Can Japanese Sports Shoes Do to German Sports Shoes What Japanese Cameras Did to German Cameras?" His crazy idea was simple: import high-quality, low-cost running shoes from Japan and sell them in the US, undercutting the dominant German brands like Adidas. The idea consumed him. It wasn't just a class project anymore. It was his calling. In 1962, at 24 years old, Phil Knight decided to make his crazy idea a reality. He booked a flight to Japan, a bold move for a young man who had barely traveled. He walked into the offices of Onitsuka Tiger, a major Japanese shoe manufacturer, with no real plan, no company, and no appointment. When they asked him who he represented, he panicked and blurted out the first name that came to mind: Blue Ribbon Sports. He made it up on the spot. Miraculously, his passion and knowledge impressed the Onitsuka executives. They agreed to send him samples. Back in Oregon, the samples arrived. Knight sent a pair to his old coach, Bill Bowerman, hoping for an endorsement. Bowerman did more than that. He saw the potential and proposed a partnership. He'd handle the product design and testing, while Knight would handle the business side. They sealed the deal with a handshake, each putting in $500. Blue Ribbon Sports was officially born. Their first office? The trunk of Phil Knight's green Plymouth Valiant. He spent his weekends driving to track meets all over the Pacific Northwest, selling shoes to runners, coaches, and fans. He worked a full-time job as an accountant during the week, dedicating every spare moment to his shoe business. It was a grind. Sales were slow at first, and money was always tight. He lived with his parents, pouring every penny he earned back into ordering more shoes from Japan. The partnership with Bowerman was crucial. Bowerman was a relentless innovator. He was never satisfied. He would constantly send feedback to Onitsuka, demanding changes to the designs. He even famously poured rubber into his wife's waffle iron, creating a revolutionary new sole with incredible grip. This waffle sole would become an iconic part of Nike's future success. This constant push for better performance set them apart. They weren't just selling shoes. They were selling a competitive edge. As Blue Ribbon grew, so did the challenges. Their relationship with Onitsuka became strained. Shipments were often late, orders were incorrect, and Knight suspected they were looking for a bigger U.S. distributor. He realized that to control their own destiny, they needed to create their own brand. The break was coming, and they had to be ready. In 1971, the moment arrived. They needed a name and a logo for their new, independent line of shoes. One of their first employees, Jeff Johnson, had a dream about Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. The name stuck. For a logo, Knight approached a young graphic design student at Portland State University named Carolyn Davidson. He told her he needed something that suggested speed and movement. She came back with several designs, one of which was a simple, fluid checkmark. Knight wasn't in love with it at first, saying, "Well, I don't love it, but maybe it will grow on me." He paid her just $35 for the design. That simple checkmark, the swoosh, would become one of the most recognized logos in human history. With a new name and a logo, Nike was born. Their first shoe was the Cortez, a design Bowerman had been perfecting for years. The timing was perfect. The 1972 Olympic trials were held in their hometown of Eugene, Oregon. They rushed to get the new Nike shoes onto the feet of the athletes. The running boom of the 1970s was just beginning, and Nike was right there at the starting line. But the journey was far from smooth. They were constantly on the verge of bankruptcy. Banks refused to give them loans, seeing them as a risky fly-by-night operation. Knight had to juggle payments to suppliers and payroll, often just days or even hours away from financial ruin. He describes this period as living on the float, a precarious balancing act where checks were written before the money was in the bank, hoping sales would cover them in time. It was incredibly stressful, but Knight's belief in his vision never wavered. The turning point came with technology and marketing genius. In the late 70s, an aerospace engineer named Frank Rudy came to them with another crazy idea, putting a small airbag into the sole of a shoe for better cushioning. After being rejected by other companies, Nike took a chance. The result was Nike Air, a technology that revolutionized the industry and created iconic shoes like the Air Max. Then came the masterstroke. In the mid-1980s, Nike was struggling. The aerobics craze had caught them flat-footed. They decided to bet the entire company on one person, a rookie basketball player named Michael Jordan. They signed him to an unprecedented endorsement deal and created a signature shoe for him, the Air Jordan. It was a massive risk. But when Jordan took the court in his bold red and black shoes, which violated the NBA's uniform rules, a legend was born. The Air Jordan became a cultural phenomenon, catapulting Nike from a running shoe company into a global sports and culture giant. Following the success of Jordan, Nike launched one of the most powerful marketing campaigns in history. The tagline was simple, direct, and universal. Just do it. It wasn't just about selling shoes anymore. It was about selling an attitude and inspiration. It was a call to action for everyone, from professional athletes to everyday people, to push their limits and chase their dreams, no matter how crazy they seemed. From a $50 loan from his dad and selling shoes from the trunk of his car, Phil Knight built an empire. It was a journey filled with near failures, betrayals, and immense risks. He wasn't the most charismatic CEO or the most polished speaker. He was, by his own admission, shy and introverted, but he was relentless. He surrounded himself with a team of passionate, rebellious misfits who shared his belief that sport had the power to change the world. Today, Phil Knight is a billionaire many times over, but his story is a powerful reminder that the path to success is rarely a straight line. It's about having a crazy idea and the courage to pursue it, even when the world tells you you're going to fail. It's about surviving the early struggles, embracing innovation, and understanding that a brand is more than just a product. It's a story. Phil Knight's story, the story of Nike, is proof that with enough grit, belief, and a refusal to quit, you really can just do it.